Americans use passwords every day to log onto social media, access bank accounts, or to check emails. But after information giants such as Sony, Target, and even the U.S. government fell prey to data breaches last year, the president had this to say.
No foreign nation, no hacker should be able to shut down our networks, steal our trade secrets, or invade the privacy of American families, especially our kids.
But not everyone appears to have gotten the message.
I'm not gonna lie, I have a couple easy passwords.
According to a new report from Splash Data, there are still many who are using common online passwords, such as 123456, password, or even Batman as their only line of defense against hackers.
I mean, my Yahoo account has been hacked more than once.
While it's clear that Gotham's Cape Crusader can't protect you online, there are a few things you can do to beef up your password strength.
One of the big threats that we see are people who basically reuse their passwords from one system to the other. The more random your password is and the longer it is, the much stronger your password is going to be.
It's something that many UF students can agree with.
Even if you have a pretty complex password, people can still hack it, so I think that people should just be aware that their simple passwords can be hacked.
UF Information Security says for students, protecting your university login is extremely important, as some may fall prey to hackers at the start of the semester.
We've seen this where people will go in and deregister you for classes just because they want that same class. So you definitely don't want to share your account credentials with anyone else.
Now, to see how your online passwords stack up, you can visit splashdata.com for the full list of 2013's worst passwords. Reporting from the newsroom, Rochelle, Alleyne, WUFT News.
I couldn't sleep last night. I didn't even tell my mama, but I was up at 5 o'clock.
Well, it's no wonder Lexi Henderson couldn't get any rest last night. Today is the day she finally went home after spending nearly a year at UF Health Shands. After her previous heart transplant failed last year, she was given an artificial heart. It's an operation that just by itself is amazing.
I've been doing this for a while, but it's an amazing thing to take out a heart and to put in a new heart, and Lexi's already had that done. But now to take out her transplanted heart and put in a total mechanical heart is nothing short of miraculous.
Since then, Lexi has been hooked up to a large machine that's been keeping her heart going. But now, with the help of a portable pack, she's finally able to leave, and she's making history in doing so. She is now the youngest person in the world with her type of heart to be discharged with this mobile battery pack. Lexi may not have a real heart, but she's not any less loving, and she's found her way into the hearts of her doctors, one of whom got choked up just talking about her leaving.
Well, my hope is that
But on the bright side, Lexi will now get the chance to celebrate another year of life with her family.
My birthday is April 20th. And which is on Easter this year.
And her mother is grateful for this life-changing technology.
It has been a life-changing experience. First of all, I didn't even know things like this existed.
It's a heartwarming moment for a girl who's patiently waiting for a new heart. Rochelle, Alleyne, WUFT News. In the UAE, there are certain restricted areas where tourists are legally not allowed to take any photos, which means the wrong selfie could land you in jail. The supper program here at Norton Elementary School gives kids a balanced meal so they can focus on homework instead of on being hungry. Here at this little piggy farm, they are taking every precaution to make sure the PED virus does not show its head. No justice, no peace. Protesters here at tonight's game have been chanting this for several hours. Rhonda Williams, owner of this little piggy farm in North Florida, loves her pigs, and so she does her best to take care of her herd. But there's a new virus out there that's making it harder for her to do this. It's called the porcine epidemic diarrhea virus, and it's killed millions of baby pigs since it spread to the U.S. from China in 2013.
We started to see some instances of this last summer in very pork production intensive states. So, and then it's gotten more severe throughout the duration of the winter.
The symptoms of the disease are similar to that of a human stomach virus.
Serious GI upset and vomiting, diarrhea, and then they'll just essentially die from dehydration.
However, these symptoms are very common among pig illnesses, making it hard to pinpoint the disease before it's too late.
For a pig, just to quit eating, that's like number one, something's wrong. And if they quit drinking, you only have a matter of, a couple days probably to work with them and figure out what is wrong. Unfortunately, pigs have the same symptoms for a lot of things, and diarrhea is one of them.
And the disease is hitting pigs especially hard because they can get sick quite easily.
Pigs are zoonotic. A lot of people don't know that. It just means that they can catch our germs and we can catch theirs.
Because of this, Rhonda's working hard to keep the PED virus at bay.
Here at this little piggy farm, they are taking every precaution to make sure the PED virus does not show its head. But should it show up, they do know what to do.
Pig farmers like Rhonda are being encouraged to take certain precautions, like limiting the amount of people who visit their farms and disinfecting everything that enters the property. According to Animal Welfare Approved, the virus can only make pigs sick. But just because you can't get it doesn't mean the virus isn't affecting you. If you're looking to put some pork on the grill this summer, you may be digging a little deeper in your pocket to pay for it. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, so far the average price of pork has risen about 13% since February 2013.
About $1.24 carcass price, and that's up 40 cents a pound as compared to what it was just at Christmas. So, yeah, highest ever.
Prices are expected to continue to increase, meaning that pig farmers like Rhonda are now facing the challenge of keeping their prices fair while trying to keep their pigs healthy. Rochelle, Alleyne, WUFT News. Bag after bag and trip after trip,
Thank you, Jill.
The workers at Raleigh's Interfaith Food Shuttle are preparing for a big delivery. Today's load is going to feed Raleigh's youngest learners.
What would you like, baby?
According to Wake County Schools, about half of the county students rely on the free and reduced lunch program.
Oops.
And many of them go hungry on the weekends.
I think people think of hunger, they think of, Africa or Southeast Asia or Latin America. They don't think in the triangle, in their own community.
It's why the Interfaith Food Shuttle started its Backpack Buddies program.
Hundreds of bags like these are packed with nutritious foods, and then they're sent off to students in need of a little bit of hope.
In the past year alone, it's fed about 2,000 kids with more than 68,000 packed bags. So, off the food goes. Today, the first stop is Hope Elementary School. Workers sort the bags and then put them in the care of Hope's resident elves, Tanaya and Akila. For many of Hope's kids, Fridays are like Christmas morning. They scramble to claim their present, bags of food to tide them over for the weekend. For the girls, today's delivery is just all in a day's work.
What's your favorite part, would you say?
Bringing the food to the children.
My favorite part is sending them to the classrooms and seeing how so excited they are to get their food.
Food that Hope Elementary School teacher Brittany Williamson saw the kids needed.
As a teacher, you go home and you have food on the weekend. So to see a child who doesn't have, it's sad.
So she started the school's partnership with the Backpack Buddies program in January. Tonight, 72 of the school's 116 kids will go home with one less worry as they look forward to next Friday when Christmas comes again. Now, once the school year ends, Hope Elementary will be in need once again. It's a charter school, which means administrators had to sponsor the partnership on their own. So once classes end, so will that funding. Back to you. Christmas of 1988 would be the last time the Sessions family would all be together. Just over a month later, Tiffany Sessions would disappear without a trace.
It was just so sad because there was no clue at all. Nobody knew. I think they found her vehicle, and that's what I recall about the only clue they had to go on.
But new details are leading detectives to believe they are one step closer to solving this cold case. CBS reports serial killer Paul Rose is now a lead suspect. For the Sessions family, it could mean the end of a 25-year nightmare.
Well, over the last 25 years, we've had a lot of leads in the case, and so you get very excited when you get new leads. You're hoping that you're going to find the answers you've been looking for, and then there's been a lot of letdown, obviously. We're still here 25 years later. We're still looking for the final answers.
For those who lived in the area when Tiffany disappeared, a break in the case is welcome news.
It was hard in every way. So I'm very glad. I'm hoping that they really have something.
But even the newest information can fill the hole left in the family's heart.
I don't know that there'll ever be closure in the case unless we find Tiffany's remains, and even when you find somebody's remains and we realize what has happened to her, I don't think it'll bring closure to us. It will give us the answers that we've been searching for.
All right.
It's a very lonely place and a very guilty place.
Bureau of Justice statistics show that more than 200,000 people will be sexually assaulted this year. Anita Yuen is working to make that number smaller, even if it's just by one.
I had to speak up because if I didn't, he would continue going on and doing what he was doing. Well, it was an extreme challenge and very difficult. I knew that if I didn't, someone else could get hurt, and I would feel like it was my fault.
Gainesville residents and several local agencies came together tonight to spread awareness about sexual assault, and they marched to spread their message. But even more importantly, they shared their stories.
Victim advocates say that when it comes to sexual assault, there are quite a few misconceptions. Some of the most common being wearing certain types of clothing or being in a downtown area like this one at night.
In fact, some of the realities of sexual assault may surprise you.
It's a bigger problem than people think. Being a university community, we see a lot of date rape drugs that are being used and a lot of sexual assaults. Unfortunately, they're on college-age females primarily.
It's for this reason and so many more that this group has come together to take back the night.
If you think about traditional beliefs or myths really about sexual violence, it happens at night. It's a stranger, somebody jumping out of the bushes. We know that's not true, but we don't want anyone to be afraid to be anywhere.
One of the first and most symbolic steps is to light a candle to help make the night a little brighter. Rochelle, Alleyne, GTN News.
I was at the Carter Center earlier this morning for an exclusive interview with former President Jimmy Carter. He is holding a human rights forum, which of course is his passion. We're going to get to that in a minute. But one of the things that was surprising in our interview was the news that he made on Paula Deen. That's right. The two of them grew up in rural towns about 40 miles apart here in Georgia. Turns out that they are actually good friends. Deen reached out to him for his advice on this whole debacle around her using the N-word. Here's what he told me.
I've known Paula Deen quite well for a long period of time. I advised her to let the dust settle and to make apologies, and she has some very beneficial human programs in Savannah, Georgia, where she lives, that benefit almost exclusively oppressed and poverty-stricken black people, African-American citizens in her own community. And I advised her to get some of those people who she's helping every day to speak out and show that she has changed in her relationship with African-American people, with minorities, in the last number of years. But my heart goes out to her, but of course there's no condoning the use of a word that abuses other people.
All right, from President of the United States to painter. The first painter, perhaps, after 5 years.
Yeah.
Former President George W. Bush is stepping back into the spotlight with a paintbrush.
Or we stepped into his. He tells us what he's been up to since leaving the Oval Office. He's trying to be low-key.
Bush says when he's at home in Texas, he spends much of his time painting portraits and landscapes.
They were pretty good. Well, thank you. You know, when you paint by numbers, it's not that hard.
Well, after months of protest, the Egyptian military removing the country's president from power.
Indeed. And bringing in an interim leader. Up next, we'll look at the military's role in Egypt's uncertain future. So far, the most talked about witness in this trial has been Martin's friend, Rachel Gentile. She's 19 years old, and people across the country have criticized her for a number of things, from the way she looked to the way she spoke. Her attorney says Trayvon Martin never judged his friend. Attorney Rod Vereen spoke about the friendship earlier on CNN.
She and Trayvon Martin shared
a group of friends, and those friends will often congregate over at her house. And that's when she had met Trayvon Martin again, and they began to associate with each other. And as I had said before, Trayvon Martin was one of the guys that essentially took her in because, as she said, she kept it real. And Trayvon Martin kept it real. He did not tease her about anything. You know, as you see, some folks want to tease her about the way she wears her hair, the way she dresses, her complexion, her weight. Trayvon Martin never did any of that. He was a good friend to her. They text each other a lot of times. They spent a lot of time on the phone. She said Trayvon Martin had a great heart and had a great personality. And let me tell you something. For the time that I spent with Rachel, she is a very personal person, and she's a loving young lady. And I can understand why it would be that Trayvon Martin would want to have Rachel as a friend, and why Rachel would want to have Trayvon Martin as a friend as well.
All right, a woman who found herself at the bottom of a deep sinkhole this week says her faith helped keep her calm. This is Pamela Knox and her rescuer climbing out of a 10-foot hole that opened beneath her car. A busted water main caused the street to suddenly crumble, but Knox didn't know at the time what was going on. She only knew that something was very wrong.
I was, I had just finished doing some errands, and as I was driving down the street, and it's an area that I've driven down before, over many, many years, all of a sudden the street underneath me caved in, and the street gave way, and I found myself falling in my car into this deep, deep hole.
What did you think in that moment?
I couldn't understand what was going on. I didn't know what was happening. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm actually falling. Is this really happening to me? And as I was falling like that, I just started calling out on the name of Jesus. And I just kept saying, Jesus, 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 over and over again. Because I didn't know.
Wow, and the Lord answered her prayers. Pamela Knox is okay. She was on CNN's New Day this morning. She wasn't hurt, only shaken up, but her car was beginning to fill with water.
We're also hearing from the defense in this trial. George Zimmerman's lead attorney, Mark O'Mara, sat down with our own Chris Cuomo, and Chris zeroed in on something a lot of people want to know. Is George Zimmerman sorry about what happened? Listen to this.
Does he regret, though, picking out Trayvon Martin? He was wrong, right? This kid was not doing anything wrong. He belonged there. He had a right to the place and space where he was also. Does he regret even singling him out that night?
Well, let's look at the circumstances as he was viewing them. He saw somebody who happened to be in the area where another person had just burglarized a home. Yes, and it was a young black male. Was that a focusing, a profiling? It was a suspicion. Let's not also forget that Trayvon Martin was under the influence of some marijuana. It didn't come into trial, but we're not bound by those facts now. We can't ignore the fact that he had prior history of burglaries because he was found with the fruits of a burglary back several months before. So, if we're going to look at the suspicions and the way he was acting, he was seemingly wandering around, having spent 45 or 50 minutes traveling less than a mile. So if you're going to look at what George Zimmerman saw that night, it's all got to be taken in context.
O'Mara also says he was surprised that there was outrage after the verdict because he had hoped that people would see the trial as fair.